Sir, drop your weapon, put your hands on your head, and get down on the ground. You are going to be placed under arrest. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You have the right to an attorney. If you cannot afford an attorney, one will be appointed for you.
Good day everyone, I'm Victor Morante from BS Criminology 2B of La Concepcion College. I'm here to discuss the Philippine National Police Operational Procedure of Rule 13 to 16. Now, let's start with the rule number 13, the arrest. These are the topics that we are going to discuss. Number 1, the general guidelines, warrant of arrest, arrest without a warrant, the authority of the arresting officer when making an arrest, the procedure, the duties of the arresting officer, and last one is the physical examination of arrested person or suspect. Now, arrest refers to the legal process of detaining an individual by law enforcement authorities. It involves the deprivation of personal liberty, usually due to the suspicion of committing a crime pending further legal proceedings. There are 6 general guidelines of the arrest. Number 1. Arrest should generally require a valid warrant unless permitted by law. Number 2. Arrest must be conducted without violence and with only necessary restraint. Number 3. Arrest can occur any day or time. Number 4. Only judges can issue warrants. Number 5. If already detained, a warrant may not be needed, and a judge may issue an order instead. And the last one, number 6, certain individuals are immune from arrest, such as senator or member of the House of the Representative, while Congress is in session for an offense punishable by not more than 6 years of imprisonment. And number 2, the diplomatic agents under the Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Relations. Now, let's talk about warrant of arrest. The process of implementing a warrant of arrest. It states that the warrant serves as the official authorization for an officer to arrest a person accused of a crime. The head of the office receiving the warrant must ensure it is executed within 10 days. If the warrant is not executed within this time frame, a report with reason for the delay must be submitted to the issuing judge within 10 days after the expiration of the initial 10-day period. But did you know that a PNP officer can arrest without a warrant? Number 1. If the person to be arrested has committed, is committing, or is attempting to commit a crime in the presence of the arresting individual. Number 2. If an offense has just been committed and there is probable cause based on a personal knowledge that the person to be arrested committed it. If the person to be arrested, number 3, if the person to be arrested is a prisoner who has escaped from custody. Number 4, if a person released on a bail tries to leave the country without court permission. Number 5, for violation of conditional pardon. And lastly, during deportation proceedings against illegal aliens by the Immigration Commissioner. There are 4 authority of the arresting officer when making an arrest. Number 1, police officer can verbally summon assistance from as many people as needed to effect an arrest. Number 2, a police officer may break into a building or enclosure to make an arrest if entry is refused after announcing their authority and purpose. Number 3, the officer can break out of the building or enclosure if necessary to liberate themselves. Number 4, if a person lawfully arrested escapes or is rescued, anyone can immediately pursue and retake them without a warrant anywhere in the Philippines. Now, let's go to the procedure for serving of warrant of arrest. Number 1, verify the validity of the warrant and request an authenticated copy from the issuing court. Number 2, identify oneself and show proper identification when serving the warrant. Number 3, asserts authority over the person to be arrested. Number 4, if entry is refused, the officer may forcibly enter the premises after announcing their purpose. Number 5, the officer may not have a physical copy of warrant at the time of arrest, but must show it to the arrested person upon request. Number 6, secure the arrested person using handcuff if necessary for safety. Number 7, conduct a thorough search for weapon and illegal items. Number 8, inform the arrested person of their legal rights including the Miranda warning and anti-torture warning. Number 9, use only necessary force during the arrest. Number 10, properly documented confiscated evidence and establish the chain of custody. Number 11, bring the arrested person to the police station for documentation. Number 12, submit a return of warrant form to the issuing court. And lastly, number 13, deliver the arrested person to jail or prison upon issuance of a commitment order from the court. Next procedure is for effective warrantless arrest. Number 1, freeze or restrain the suspect. Number 2, properly introduce oneself and assert authority to arrest. Number 3, inform the arrested person of the circumstances of their arrest, including reciting the Miranda warning and anti-torture warning. Number 4, secure the arrested person and use handcuff if necessary for protection. Number 5, conduct a thorough search for weapons and illegal materials. Number 6, document confiscated evidence and establish the chain of custody. Number 7, use only necessary force during the arrest. Number 8, bring the arrested person to the police station for further investigation and disposition. Now that we are done to the procedure, let's go to the duties of arresting officer. Number 1, the police officer implementing a warrant must promptly deliver the arrested person to the nearest police station or jail to record the arrest. Number 2, the arresting officer must inform the arrested person of the reason for the arrest and the issuance of warrant if requested. The warrant must be shown to the arrested person after the arrest. Number 3, when women or children are among the arrested suspect, specialized officers or police women must conduct pat-down searches. Number 4, in cases of warrantless arrest, the arresting officer must inform the person of their authority and the reason for the arrest except in a specific situation. Number 5, the arrested person, regardless of the presence of a warrant, must be informed their constitutional rights, including the right to remain silent, the right to communicate with a lawyer or immediate family, and the right to a physical examination. Number 6, a person arrested without a warrant must be promptly brought to the appropriate police station for investigation without undue delay and subjected to inquest proceedings within the prescribed time. Number 7, no form of torture, force, violence, threat, or intimidation shall be used against an arrested person. Practices such as secret detention and solitary confinement are prohibited. Number 8, if a person arrested without a warrant waives their right under the provision of revised penal code, the arresting officer must ensure that they sign a waiver of detention in the presence of their chosen counsel. Number 9, if the arrested person waives their rights against self-incrimination and chooses to give a statement, the arresting officer must ensure the waiver is made in writing and signed in the presence of their chosen counsel or a competent and independent counsel provided by the government. And the last, under the Rule 13 of arrest, is the physical examination of arrested person or subject. Before interrogation, an arrested person has the right to request a physical examination by a doctor of their choice. If they cannot afford one, the state will provide a competent and independent doctor. Female pain should be probably be examined by a female doctor. Now that we are done with the arrest, Rule 13, let's go to the Rule number 14, search and seizure. Rule 14 covers various topics related to legal procedure and protocols. Some of the key areas addressed within this rule include the requisite for the issuance of search warrants, the validity of search warrant, the time of search, application for search warrant, and the authority of police officers when conducting search, prohibited acts in the conduct of search by virtue of search warrant, and inventory and delivery of property seized, valid search and seizures without search warrant. Search and seizure refers to the legal process by which law enforcement officials search for and take possession of evidence or contraband during the investigation of a crime. Search, it involves the examination of a person, property, or premises to find evidence of criminal activity, while seizure refers to the act of taking possession of items that are found during the search. These actions are typically conducted with a warrant issued by a base or on probable cause, although there are certain circumstances where searches and seizure can be conducted without a warrant, such as during exigent circumstances or with the consent of the individual being searched. Under Rule 14, requisite for the issuance of search warrant. A search warrant is issued only upon probable cause for a specific offense, determined by a judge after examining the complaint and witnesses after oath. It must describe the place to be searched and the items to be seized. Permissible objects of search warrant include properties related to the offense, stolen proceeds, and objects used to the offense. Additionally, items that are illegal by nature may be seized under the plain view doctrine, even if not explicitly mentioned in the warrant. Validity of search warrant. The search warrant is valid for 10 days from the date of the issuance and can be served on any day within that period. If the search cannot be completed in one day, it can continue on subsequent days as long as it remains within the 10-day validity period. If the search cannot be completed within the 10-day period, the officer must file an application for the extension with the issuing court. Next, the time of search. The warrant should be served during daytime unless there is a provision in the warrant allowing service at any time of the day or night. There is also an application for search warrant. All applications for search warrant shall be approved by filing by the Chief of Office. The application shall indicate the following data. Number 1. Office applying for search warrant. Number 2. Name of officer or applicant. Number 3. Name of the subject if known. Number 4. The addresses, places to be searched. Number 5. The specific statement of things or articles to be seized. And the last one is sketch of the place to be searched. All approved applications shall be recorded in a logbook, duly maintained for the purpose indicating the name of applicant, name of the respondent, nature of offense, and the date of application. The authority of police officer when conducting search. If the police officer, after notifying their purpose and authority, is denied entry to the place of search, they are authorized to break open doors, windows, or any part of premises to execute the warrant or free themselves or other lawfully assisting them if unlawfully detained inside. There are two prohibited acts in the conduct of search by virtue of search warrant. The number 1 is the searches of houses or premises require the presence of the lawful occupant, a family member, or 2 witnesses from the same locality. Number 2, only items specifically mentioned in the search warrant can be taken. Other personal belongings cannot be seized. Let's go to the inventory and delivery of property seized. According to Rule 14, The officer must provide a detailed receipt to the lawful occupant or, if absent, to two witnesses. Number 2. The receipt must list items seized under the plain view doctrine. 3. A receipt must be left at the place where the property was found and with the local barangay official. Number 4. The officer must promptly deliver the seized property and a verified inventory to the issuing judge. Valid search and seizures without search warrant. There are 7. Now the number 1 is search made incidental to a valid arrest. When someone is lawfully arrested, they can be searched without a warrant for dangerous weapons or evidence related to the crime. This search can extend to the area under their immediate control. Number 2. Search of moving vehicles. If police officers have reasonable cause to believe a motorist is involved in a crime or that evidence is in the vehicle, they can stop and thoroughly search the vehicle. Number 3. Seizure of evidence in plain view. The plain view doctrine allows for the seizure of any object in plain sight that may serve as evidence. The requirements includes police must have prior justification for intrusion or a position allowing them to view the area. Number 2, there also discovery of evidence must be unintentional. Number 3, it must be immediately clear to the officer that the item observed may be evidence or contraband. Number 4, when the waiver of the right or there is consistent search. For a waiver of constitutional right to be valid, first, the right must exist. Second, the person must have knowledge of the right's existence, either actual or constructive. And lastly, the person must have an actual intention to relinquish the right. Number 5. Searches under stop and freeze rule. Police officers have the authority to stop and question individual on the street as well as pat them down for weapons if they observe behavior that suggests criminal activity. Number 6. Emergency and exigent circumstances. A search warrant can be bypassed in emergencies if police have reasonable ground to believe a crime is happening and they can't obtain a warrant because courts are closed. Number 7. Tip information. If police have reasonable grounds to suspect illegal activity based on a tip, they can conduct a warrantless search and seizure. Now that we are done to the Rule 14, the search and seizure, let's proceed with the Rule 15. Investigation by the Territorial Police Unit after an armed confrontation. Under Rule 15, several key topics are addressed to ensure the smooth operation and fairness of legal proceedings. These include the responsibility of the Territorial Police Unit, scene of the crime operation or SOCO, team to process the crime scene, mandatory examination of firearms seized or confiscated during police operation, and inquest proceeding necessary when the suspect dies. Responsibility of the Territorial Police Unit. The police unit with jurisdiction over the area of the armed confrontation must secure the scene and conduct an immediate investigation. Scene of the crime operation or SOCO, team to process the crime scene. The concerned police unit shall immediately request the scene of a crime operation or SOCO team to conduct crime scene processing. Now, let's talk about the mandatory examination of firearms seized or confiscated during police operation. First, firearms, cartridges, and slugs seized during various police operations, including checkpoints and crime scene, must be promptly submitted to the local crime laboratory for processing through Integrated Ballistic Identification System or IBIS. Second, the The field investigator must provide a photo of the firearm and receipt from the crime laboratory to the prosecutor or court. Third, if the prosecutor requires the physical firearms, the investigator should request a subpoena for the crime laboratory to present it. Last, the investigator on case should personally submit the recovered firearm to the crime laboratory to ensure strict chain of custody documentation. And this is the last under the Rule 15, the inquest proceeding necessary when the suspect dies. In cases where a suspect dies in an armed confrontation, the team leader of the operating unit must submit the incident for inquest to the duty inquest prosecutor before removing the body, unless there are no inquest prosecutor in the area, in which case the territorial police unit can proceed with the investigation. This is the last and my final rule according to the Philippine National Police Operational Procedure, the Rule 16, Judicial Affidavit Rule. This rule shall apply to all action, proceeding, and incident requiring the reception of evidence before the court in the place of the direct testimonies of witnesses in order to reduce the time needed for completing their testimonies. Under Rule 16, several important topics are covered to ensure fair and efficient pre-trial procedures. This includes application of rule criminal action, contents of judicial affidavit, and lastly, sworn attestation of the lawyer. Application of rule to criminal action. This rule shall apply to all criminal action where the maximum impossible penalty does not exceed 6 years. Let's proceed to the content of judicial affidavit. A judicial affidavit prepared in the witness known language or translated into English or Filipino must include: Number 1, witness's name, age, resident or business address, and occupation. Number 2, name and address of the lawyer conducting or supervising the examination and the location. Number 3, statement that the witness is under oath and aware the consequences of false testimony. Number 5, numbered question and corresponding answers detailing how the witness acquired relevant facts and identifying attached evidence. Number 5, witness's signature over printed name. And last, a jurat or proof of oath taken before an administrating officer or notary public. Last, under the Rule 16, this is the sworn attestation of the lawyer. The judicial affidavit must include a sworn statement by the lawyer conducting or supervising the examination affirming that: first, they faithfully recorded the question asked and the witness's answer. Second, neither they nor anyone present coached the witness regarding their answer. Now that we are done to the Philippine National Police Operational Procedure of Rule 13, 14, 15, and 16, thank you for watching. I hope you learned something from me. Again, I'm Victor Morante from BS Criminology 2B of La Concepcion College. Thank you.